recording. Okay. Okay, Mary.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. It's been snowing here. I don't know about you guys, but it's been snowing here. What I'd like to do today is share with you some of the online resources that I enjoy looking at. They give me inspiration and tips for making quilt tops and finishing techniques and craft projects. So we'll start on our journey. The one that is the most frequently watched by me is Missouri Star, and many of you probably already know about Jenny Doan and the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Every Friday, without fail, she produces a tutorial, and she's on YouTube. So you can go every morning without fail and see a new something or other that she is demonstrating on Missouri Star's website. On one of those Fridays, she does something called the triple play. And it's not just her, she's kind of co-presenting with her daughter, Natalie, and her daughter-in-law, Misty. And what they do is they take a quilt block that they like, and they all try to do something different with it. And they will demonstrate, each of them will demonstrate what they're doing with it. So that's kind of fun to see how they modify whatever they're doing to make something very pretty. Then she also has another program called Missouri Star Live, and that's with her daughter-in-law, Misty. And Misty is a very vivacious young woman. And I never watch it live because I'm not really interested in hearing all of the chit chat that people say, oh, hi there, and hi, you know, how are you doing? It's snowing here, blah, blah. I don't want to do all that. So you can look at it later. And she typically does some sort of not a quilt top usually, but something interesting. Like one time she did a shower curtain. You know, she does different things, but she will take you through it. And the last thing that they do is something called the finish line. And her daughter, Natalie, does that. And it's not regular. I haven't noticed a regular presentation of that. But she'll take a topic about finishing a quilt. So something like making the quilt sandwich or binding it or actually quilting it. She does that. So the whole family seems to be involved with it. And there's always something new to watch with Missouri Star. Okay, Karin? Now, these are some examples of some of the things that I've done with Missouri Star, looking at their quilts and their tips and so on. Now, I will tell you that they typically use a lot of pre-cuts, which I don't typically invest in. I use whatever I have to make whatever they're doing that interests me. And I will say, too, that Jenny is a little bit sloppy about her pressing and ironing. She wants her quilt squares to be flat, but yeah, she's kind of lazy about which way they're ironed. The one on the upper left is a quilt that she made. She demonstrated. She made it quite large with many blocks. I only used 4 blocks. She used, I think, a jelly roll for most of it. Of course, I just used whatever I had. Didn't use jelly rolls. But again, you can see how you can modify what she's doing by making it however big you want. The one on the bottom, the green circle, is a pot holder that Misty made in her Missouri Live thing. And I had played around with English paper piecing. And she was demonstrating English paper piecing. Of course, she was trying to sell you some materials that she had, but I don't buy those things. So I just did what I wanted, and I took her idea and made it my own way. Then in the middle is one of those triple play quilts, and they were doing things with flying geese. And pretty much I made this quilt the way they demonstrated it because I just liked it so much. I think it has, I like all that white background. Looks fresh to me. The upper right-hand corner one is one that I actually did purchase something to be able to make it. It's called a rhombus gemstone, and the pattern, of course, is free, but the rhombus tool that I used, I did purchase from them. I think it was about $11 or $12. And I actually broke down and purchased a jelly roll, which I don't usually do. But this was going to be a gift for somebody in particular, so I decided not to go on the cheap on that. And the bottom one is a little zipper bag, and it's made of a real M&M package. It's lined, and Jenny demonstrates on her tutorial how to laminate that with an iron-on kind of laminate, and how to make that. And you can actually make that kind of a little bag or anything that's laminated with, you know, like a chip bag or anything like that. So you can see from her Missouri Star website, you can see that there are many things that they do and lots of good tips and tricks on how to make them. Okay. This is Jordan Fabrics. Donna Jordan and her husband have a quilt shop in Oregon, I believe. And she is fairly regular with her tutorials. She usually does them about a week and a half apart, though she hasn't done one in almost 2 weeks now, and I'm getting a little concerned about her. I hope she's okay. But she demonstrates quilts that she designs. She'll design the quilt top or placemat or whatever she's doing. And when she does the design, she will give you a free pattern, and you can go on her blog and see the free pattern, download that. And when she demonstrates, she gives you all the measurements, how to cut it, tips on how to cut it more easily, save time. The one really good thing about her is she tells you how to press, and I really appreciate that. She's always careful about which way she presses her seams, and she will tell you why she does it that way and so on. Now, some of the quilts that she demonstrates are not her design, and she will still demonstrate the whole thing, but she won't tell you the measurements because it's not her pattern. But you can, if you want, purchase that pattern from their website. So she's one of my favorites, and I hope she's doing okay. Okay. This is so very easy. She's also on YouTube, and her name is Laura. She's Canadian. She posts something twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays on YouTube. And she's a little bit pretentious, and you have to kind of get past that in order to take advantage of all the tips and tricks that she has for us. Very well organized. Whenever she demonstrates something, it is very well organized. She has done quilts, quilt tops, she's done placemats, she's done bags. Sometimes she will feature a product. For instance, I think last week she had some glue and showed how to glue things together, and she recommended the product and so on. Yesterday she had a video where she actually was making a chef's jacket for her husband. So she also does some things about garments. She does some things about the actual quilting of a quilt. And on the right is a quilt that I made that she featured one time. Again, so very organized that it was really easy to follow. And I pretty much did that quilt just the way she recommended. Okay, Karin? This is Lori Holt. Lori Holt is one on YouTube that I just kind of started watching. I hadn't gotten into all of her stuff until just recently. She does some kind of cutesy things, She's interested in kind of a vintage look for the most part. And she has a vintage Singer sewing machine in almost every color. They're really beautiful. And she talks about using her vintage iron and all of that. She does quilt blocks. She's really good about demonstrating. She's really good about pressing directions. She also does some cross stitch. She just has displayed, I haven't actually seen her do any cross stitch, but she has shown displays that she has with cross stitch. One of my favorite tutorials that she has is the one on the design board. And at my house, I have gremlins that when I cut something out and then take it over to the sewing machine, the gremlins mess everything up. And so using a design board really helps with that. And you can see on the right an example of it. Her tutorial goes step by step on how to make a design board. And basically you're using foam core and batting, though I think you probably could use flannel. And she even shows you how to border it with hot glue and fabric. So you can make those all different kinds of sizes. And I really do like that design board. I find that very, very helpful. So her tutorial is really good. It really will get you there if you're trying to make one or two or more of those. Hey, Karin. The Fat Quarter Shop is another YouTube channel, and her name is Kimberly Jolly. And you kind of have to get past her voice. Sometimes it does grate on me just a little bit. She's quite the perfectionist, very anal, but her feature that I really appreciate is that she is a big proponent of starching. So she really encourages you to start. She's even got a tutorial about starching and how to do that, how she does it. This quilt on the right is one of her free patterns. Right now, she's doing something called Socialites, and instead of SOC, it's SEW, Socialites. And I think she's up to block 16, so she demonstrates how to do those blocks. They're not difficult blocks. And you can download from her blog the patterns for all the things that she demonstrates, and they're free. And usually she does those like the socialites and the block of the month kind of things in 3 different sizes. So you have the measurements for whatever size block you decide you want to make. And this is one that she did. I think I'm pretty sure she used a jelly roll in making most of her quilt. Again, I didn't do that. I just used what I had. And the funny thing about that one is when I was making it, it didn't look like anything to me. It's supposed to be a snowflake. I knew it was supposed to be a snowflake, but it didn't look like anything to me until I finished it and stepped back from it and saw that it was a snowflake. So that one was kind of fun to make, but her stuff is free. She does have this Fat Quarter Shop. She would like to sell you some things. So Karin, this one is kind of neat. I haven't made anything based on her YouTube channel. Her name is Karin Brown, and she's Canadian. I think she's in Toronto, and her program, Just Get It Done, she looks at excuse me, helping us make a lot of stash buster kind of things, but she does a lot of other stuff on her channel. She tells us about what we can buy at the dollar store and use in our sewing rooms. She interviews people. She's got a really good 3-part series on color and color theory, and I think she must have an art background. And then there's also, she's got a 3-part series on organizing your sewing space. So I think I would encourage you to watch her. She's got a lot of good advice, a lot of good tips, and I find her very interesting to watch, especially some of the interviews. Karin. This is Claudia. Claudia could be your friend. Claudia's YouTube channel is not as professionally done as some of the others, like Missouri Star and Jordan Fabrics and so on. But she also has a mystery quilt that she reveals. I think it's every month, a new block. Her blocks are not difficult. She is very good about giving you the directions. She has a blog where you can download all of that, but even on the screen, when she's demonstrating, she will have written out all of the measurements of the pieces that you need. And she's kind of laid back. She does a little bit of information about pressing, but she also does other things than quilt tops, and she does wall hanging. She demonstrates placemats, and on the right is something that she did around Christmas. It's a Christmas card, and she demonstrated crumb piecing. So you can see I took a bunch of green scraps and put them all together, and then made the card according to her directions. And the nice thing was that once that card was made, it fit just right into a letter size envelope. So she's done like the crackers that you do at New Year's, they're kind of cylinder things. And she did a tutorial on that you could make one of those. So she does some kind of crafty things as well. Okay. This is a Quilting Life, and they do have a block of the month. And you can see that the quilt on the right was the block of the month for 2020. And I didn't discover this until, the pandemic helped me discover a whole lot of stuff that I had discovered before. So on the right, that quilt, I didn't discover her doing that until I think September or October. So I had some catching up to do. But she made nice big blocks. She's also doing one for 2021. She does some placemats. She's good about telling you how to press. She did a tour of her sewing room not so long ago. She also does some sort of a live chat thing, which I don't really watch, with her daughter. So I'm not really interested in all that chit chat stuff. But her directions you can download from her blog. She's on YouTube, but she has a blog as well, and that's where you can get all the directions. And if you just Google a Quilting Life block of the month 2020, 2021, even 2019, maybe 2018 too, I don't remember. But you can get all the directions for all of her blocks. And you can see that that makes a nice big quilt. Okay. This is So Quilty Friends with Jacqueline Steve. She does have a YouTube channel. She doesn't have a whole lot on it. The demonstrations that she has on her YouTube channel are about hand embroidery for the most part. But she does have a blog, and she does do email. And she's on Facebook. On her Facebook page is where you can get some of her blocks of the month. And this quilt that I made was a block of the month quilt from last year. And you can see it has some embroidery. Of course, you didn't have to do the embroidery. The blocks are very, very simple. Her blocks are very simple. And you can see that I modified her blocks, to make them bigger. I made them into stars because they were so, I thought, uninteresting and small. And I did add some of the blocks that were embroidered. If you like to do hand embroidery, she does have some free hand embroidery patterns as well on her blog. So, this is another case where you can take what is demonstrated, what's offered, and make it your own, do whatever you want to on it. Okay. This is the National Quilt Museum's Quilt Along. This is their last one that they did. And the nice thing about the National Quilt Museum is it's very artistic what they put on there. It's not your run-of-the-mill kind of blocks. This was the last one. They've started a new one, and they've done 2 blocks with the new one, and I haven't done any of those yet. I'm sort of waiting to see if I really want to or not. This particular one on the right is just the first 2 parts of the quilt along. I didn't do the whole thing. I didn't want to do the whole thing. And this is paper pieced. The nice thing about this is on their Facebook page, and this is on Facebook, it's not on YouTube. I don't think they have a YouTube channel. They might, but I don't think so. But on their Facebook page, you can see what other people have done, how they've interpreted whatever the block is. And it's really fascinating because, like I said, their things are a little more artistic, a little more unusual than like the Jacqueline Steves or the Block of the Month, some of those other things.
Mary, did you say they're starting a new quilt?
Yes.
2021?
Yes, they have a new one. And that one, they have done 2 blocks for that now. And the first one, it really looks cool. I'm really interested in doing it, but I kind of want to see where it goes before I decide. It's a circle, but it's divided into 3 parts. And so then you have to sew the circle into a circle cutout piece of fabric. And there's a really good, someone recommended a really good YouTube video of a man doing a circle like that. And apparently it doesn't look that hard, to tell you the truth, though the final product looks really, really hard to me. But that's the other advantage of especially whatever is on Facebook, is that people who are doing it, they show you what they've done, or they'll ask questions and other people chime in and say, well, I did this or I did that, or they will offer suggestions. For instance, for that particular YouTube video that this man did to show how to do that technique. So the
Mary?
second block is...
Mary, we're running out of time, so we have, this meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, we're
Okay.
almost done though. Okay,
All right, we're almost done. Go ahead then.
okay, go on.
Yeah, go to the next.
Okay.
This, these are for if you're interested mostly in the free motion part of the quilt. These 2 women have YouTube channels. Angela Walters is sort of the guru of quilting, and she has 3 different programs that she does. The Midnight Quilter. She used to be on Craftsy, and she called it the Midnight Quilt Show, Midnight Quilter Quilt Show, something like that. And she's no longer on Craftsy, and so she does her own Midnight Quilt Show. I think it's once a week. She will show you the whole process of making a quilt top, but she will not give you the measurements. She wants you to buy the pattern. But she's a very lively young woman, so it's kind of fun to watch her. She does a live chat weekly, which I find very interesting because I'm interested in the quilting, the free motion quilting process. And she will talk about, for instance, next week she's going to talk about her favorite marking tools, which I'm kind of interested in seeing. Again, I don't watch it when it's happening. I watch it later on her YouTube channel. She also does quilt challenges, free motion quilt challenges. She finished one up this past winter, and she will demonstrate. She's actually teaching you how to do certain free motion quilt techniques, and she challenges you. She will have a PDF about what she's doing so that you can practice using that. Leah Day is also mostly a free motion quilter. She does do some things with quilt blocks and making quilt tops. She has an older YouTube video on Quilt As You Go, which is excellent. And if you're interested in Quilt As You Go, I know that Gail's Gals did a Quilt As You Go, And if you've forgotten how to do that, Leah Day will take you step by step through it. So she's, sometimes she shares a little more personal stuff than I am comfortable hearing. So, you know, with anything else, take what works for you and forget what doesn't work for you. Okay, next one. Okay, so these are some of the online resources that are available to us that I have found and that I find helpful in both inspiration for ideas and for techniques and tips on how to do things a little more efficiently than I typically would, because I always do everything the hard way. But what I would like to know is, what are some of your favorite online resources that I don't know about? And I believe Karin is talking that she will, am I correct, Karin, put them on, compile the list?
Yeah.
If you send, and you can put it in your newsletter. So
Yep.
you can just send me or Karin, really, the websites that you use, and we'll compile a good list. And for the rest of the pandemic, we can just watch YouTube and Facebook and so on. So any questions? Or I went through
So
it
let me
pretty
just
fast.
stop recording, and then